program is brought to you in association with First National Bank of Botswana.
FNB, how can we help you?
The music industry. You either make it or you don't. This is a business that is based on an artist's ability to appeal to the different demographic that exists in the market within which they operate. And like every other business, the goal is to generate as much profit as possible, whether this be through record sales, ticket sales, or merchandise. Sadly, sometimes an artist's current market or country of operation is not a big enough market to have a significant impact on their earnings. For the brave who are ready to expand their horizons, the next logical step is to venture out into the international market. But with that also comes the risk of being swallowed up by bigger names in the industry who'd already established themselves in their own countries and the rest of the world. So the question becomes, where is the golden balance? How have those who've managed to penetrate the international music scene managed to continually do so? And what can local upcoming artists learn from them? Our guests, Mphosibina and Seretse of Seretse and the Natives, are both local acts who've graced international stages a number of times. Mphosibina has performed on some European stages and still wows the crowds in South Africa's music soirees, most notably in the city of Johannesburg.
Mphosibina is a Motswana woman, born and bred in Botswana. I was born Gomuchudi. And yeah, I'm a daughter, I am a sister, a friend, but also a musician. And it's something that I've been working on for quite some time. And I've been working on my craft for maybe the past 5 or 6 years. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of perseverance, a lot of sleepless nights, but you know, we are here today.
Seretse's international performances to date include a stopover in Chicago, United States of America, and a showing at Planeta World Music Festival in Gothenburg, Sweden.
I'm Seretse, and the fans or the supporters are the natives. And Seretse and the Natives is an artist that comes out of Botswana, and you know, our music is just a blend of contemporary folk, you know, and other elements like jazz, blues, you know, classical music. You know, there's a lot of, you know, elements that we put in the Seretse and the Natives pot, but at the very core of it is the traditional rhythms, you know, the language. You know, we celebrate all things Setswana insofar as, you know, artistic expression is concerned.
Also here on the program, our upcoming local music duo, Khoisan. They only popped into the scene in 2019, but already hope their music will be among the favorites on the African continent. What can they learn from our other two guests to achieve this dream?
We've actually had a lot of achievements as Khoisan, but just to mention a few, we've had Africa Day, which had every artist across Southern Africa. We've had BW Trends, right? Those BW Trends. All our singles went to #1. All of them, right from Marabeli to Tubere, Sananapo. You mentioned all of them. And then Apple Music. Mpoledisa was #1 across all genres, which is kind of like a big feat.
Our first ever show we hosted on our own, which was Khoisan Goes Live, sold out. It was a sold out show. We also have won awards. Our first ever award, our Best Newcomer Award. You can only win that award once, that's why it's a big deal.
We open the segment with what Mphosibina and Seretse have found to be some of the limiting factors to growth here in Botswana.
It's been a crazy 2 years for all of us. You know, COVID has really affected us, especially us as artists, in terms of numbers and in terms of live shows. It's been quite, you know, one of the largest limiting factors over the past 2 years.
For years, for decades, you know, When it comes to local content, when you look at the playlists of the radio stations, the TV station, they have really been skewed against locals. You see that about 80%, 70 to 80% of the content, musical content that this broadcasters carry would be foreign. Then what it means, I'm talking about decades. It's been going on that way since I was a kid.
I know it's only been just under 2 years that you've been active, but what would you say have been some of the limiting factors to your growth within this industry?
There's so many things actually kind of like involved in the whole process, but I think what could be most challenging is, a lot of times for an artist to actually penetrate the international market, one most crucial thing is the PR, public relations. You have to have somebody who's going to represent you away from your own country.
I feel like the only thing limiting us as artists within our country is ourselves. We don't really invest much on ourselves. A majority of musicians take their careers as just music. It's not just that. There's a lot of investment that goes into music. It's the PR. It's almost everybody who makes sure we look like this. It's the training that we go through as well. We didn't just go into music without having any, vocal lessons from somebody. We did. And that's why I'm saying, okay, sometimes we limit ourselves. Sometimes we don't open up our minds to thinking about things that we need to invest in more to help us grow.
I want us to now zoom into the music industry for which you are part of. How do you think Botswana compares to the international music scene when we're talking about policy, even recording artists and the music festivals themselves? Is there a comparison?
Shows and events and productions differ from production to production. That's what I found. But I would say that definitely there is more and bigger budgets in certain productions outside of the country, and you see that people really invest in their artists and in the shows. This is from just the general stage and lighting to safety at an event to how much they actually pay the artist and how artists are treated. So there is quite a difference in that scale, and that you do find even when international artists come here, sometimes you can find they get paid more and are treated better than local artists, which is quite problematic. In terms of policy, I don't even want to lie and say I do know. I don't, but I do know that as artists, what I would advise is that we do maybe take our craft a little bit more seriously. This is everything from being in studio to being on stage. There's contracts that you can put in place for yourself as an artist or as a creative before you even touch the mic or before you even set on stage. But I do find that sometimes people don't really take into consideration your personal requirements.
If we don't have these policies like a quota, the problem is that then this affects everything, because we don't have a policy that protects our industry. It affects everything. When we talk about festivals in this country, they would have a heavy international content. Why? Because the people around here believe, in international content. That's what they've been fed. So for me, it speaks to issues of, actually being deliberate about putting policy in place to develop the local industry, because it will develop other industries as well.
Khoisan chimed in to speak about their experience as musicians here in Botswana, albeit a short time on the scene.
The experience is kind of eye-opening for us because we're learning a lot in terms of the business side of the music industry. It's not always about sitting in studio, recording the song. You also need to learn about the people you need to deal with on a daily. And that's your manager, that's your producer, that's makeup, that's wardrobe, that's almost everybody. So for us, it's an eye-opening process. It's basically a learning process. We learn almost every day. This is Khoisan and you're watching First Issues.
And we'll be right back after the break. Stay tuned.